Dr.
Hello,
Housley.
hello. How's it going,
What's
Joe?
up?
Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday.
How's the current state of jet lag? When was your last trip? I know you didn't make it to Data in the D due to some airline issues.
Oh, uh, government inflicted airline issues. Yeah,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
air traffic controller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, MIA. Yeah, I mean, I think I finally recovered from last, what was it, Helsinki about week and a half ish ago, almost 2 weeks.
Nice.
So yeah, but then I'm back in Paris next week. So
Nice. How was
super
Helsinki
fun.
Data Week?
Helsinki Data Week's dope.
Nice.
I think it's becoming, I think, one of the better conferences on the
Yeah.
planet, really, for I think independent conferences. It's just very well
Hmm.
run. The cool thing is it's not just a conference; it's more of just a bunch of events all
Yeah.
happening throughout the week. So yeah, props to the Helsinki Data Mafia for putting that on, and
Yeah.
a lot of I think just really good guests, speakers showing up. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So
Nice.
Helsinki is
Nice.
like, I think the thing I like too is Helsinki is just a really well run city.
Hmm.
Finland seems like a very well run country. As far as I can tell, they don't have government shutdowns that cause your airlines to cancel X% of flights. Everything just seems to work there. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah. What have you been up to? What's new with you?
Let's see. I ran an O'Reilly Superstream event yesterday, so it was like the
Sick.
theme was data engineering in the age of AI. Just had some awesome
Ah.
speakers. I think what impressed me about this versus like 1 year ago and 2 years ago is that it does seem like we're getting into a maturation phase with a lot of this technology. Like people are talking in much more concrete terms about do's and don'ts and
Mm.
actually using it versus the like I mean, vibe coding is a relatively new term, and there's still a lot of nonsense going on. But people talk about like, how do we actually build reasonable commits with this technology instead of trying to one
A
shot
bunch of
everything?
squares. Geez.
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny because I mean, you mentioned vibe coding, and I just kicked off this weekend so my practical data community,
yeah,
we're doing our first hackathon, and I'm like, well, why don't we just do like unhinged AI vibe coding,
sure,
where you try and make like the app that nobody asked for. I think it's the theme we settled on.
right,
So just like leaning into the silliness, right, where you get a lot of questions like, I don't know how to code. I'm like, even better,
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so Scott Haynes was talking specifically about like you would ask it to do something, and then if it produced too much code, you would tell it, no, no, I just want like a small change at a time. So it's more aligned with the way we typically do pull requests, which it kind of took us a long time to come around to that thinking with humans, right? With
Mhm.
waterfall development, you used to like submit a massive amount of code at once, and no one could really review it, and it's exactly what you're talking
Well,
about.
but the thing I think that we're going to take away, and actually we're going to reuse from the waterfall days,
Yeah,
and it's funny because if you look at the original paper that inspired waterfall, actually it had iteration in it. It wasn't like you
yeah,
just lobbed it over the fence and said,
right, right,
deal with it, dude or dudette. Well, it was mostly dudes back in the day. But I think that the highlight or the cool thing with I would say waterfall is you did have to specify a lot of the requirements up front.
mm-hmm,
And I think that's one of the things when you're working with AI, the thing that we're getting better at now is, yeah, you can iterate, but you also need to be very explicit about what you're kicking the AI off to do. Like if you
right,
write a Claude MD file, it's not like say, yo, bro, like vibe something for me and let's iterate. Because, if
yeah,
you use Claude Code, it's like it just goes and
right,
you can
right.
sort of iterate, but like it does it at such a speed and usually makes so many lines that you got to put the guardrails in either in your IDE or terminal or in Claude itself or the backend
Right.
files. But we're figuring it out though, right? I mean, Scott's
Yeah.
absolutely right. Saw
Yeah.
him at San Francisco last week. Good dude.
Yeah.
Never met him
When we
before.
had Lena Hall on too, one of the things she was
Oh,
talking
she's
about
cool.
is, pure vibe coding. She gave an example of like a team that had deployed a new data pipeline on a new platform to replace an old one. And the old platform, the engineers knew that there was this certain time period where there was a huge error in the data where the time stamps were off or the time intervals were off by 1,000, right? So they were sending microseconds were converted into milliseconds or something like this. And so all the old hats knew about this and built it in like any data before this date, make this conversion. The vibe coded pipeline did not. So she's like, you can use vibe coding, but you need subject matter experts on your team
Yeah.
who could say, we need to take into account this requirement, just like you're saying, to do this mapping of the data to correct it so it's not screwed
Hmm.
up this way.
Right. And so I think, well, yeah, it's interesting because the boundaries we're figuring out are pure vibe coding, I think is awesome if you just want to prototype an idea.
Right.
Right. And you're seeing a lot of non-technical people taking this route. Like, like I mentioned on the podcast, CEOs I know are doing this,
Right.
product managers, just regular people really, I think are having, so the cool thing is you're getting the iteration
Right.
of learning, and figuring out what works. I mean, that's shrinking a lot. And I think that's one of the great benefits of this is that, yeah, Lena points out, what Scott points out is, do the fast iterations with the vibe code part. Let that just do its thing. But then when it comes to production, obviously leverage AI where it needs to, but you're going to need the experts, until the AI gets good enough to understand your entire code base in business and all that stuff. And
exactly.
Maybe it will, who knows?
I think the other thing that we have to keep in mind here is that a lot of MVPs and walking skeletons end up in production, right? That it's always been a problem in the tech industry. And just like it's the same thing where before AI, people just like hash something out without thinking about security, without thinking about architecture, get it going. And then often it would just get pushed to production without a rewrite or a refactor. And that is the risk now too. You build a prototype and it ends up in production in a very dangerous way, instead of saying, okay, we need to analyze this and make sure it's safe to use in production so we don't have a credential leak or data leak or something like this.
Oh yeah, you're going to have massive problems and things that make headlines for sure.
Right.
That because I mean the expectation is obviously, and that that's no secret why the big data platforms have been buying database companies is because they want them for vibe coding and AI agent apps, right? So but the security part still isn't there. Like I was wondering, I was actually asking Claude about this. What for vibe coded apps, like what is the open source framework that it can pull in, where it has a lot of the governance and the guardrails already established for any vibe coded app, so you can scaffold it that way. There's not actually an open source project now, which means go vibe code it and build it and put it in get it popular. But the whole point is that doesn't exist, so it's a wild west right now. There's different vendors with different standards, but it depends on when the AI decides to pull in dependencies, what is it going to pull in?
Yep.
So.
And there are parallels here too, right? This is actually not a brand new problem. It was a big problem when containers really took off because there was a lot of typo squatting. There's still a lot of typo squatting for Python pip, for example. So humans would make a mistake and pull in some library from Russian hackers or whatever.
Well, they happened with DuckDB a bit ago. Like there was some npm install where like that had some bad stuff in there and got accepted in and then quickly rejected out. But yeah, it happens a lot. And the problem is right now, when I talk to people who have popular open source projects, the issue is they're getting a flood of AI generated pull requests.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So, the telltale signs is it's a very long description.
And it's verbose. And the code, there's a lot of code, right?
A lot of code.
The funny thing is, like, for a long time, open source projects, well before vibe coding, would tell people, like, we will not accept a huge pull request. Like, submit your stuff incrementally so we can actually go through the code and see what's going on. And so we got to get back to those days of rationality. Like if you have, tell Claude to break it up into small pieces and make sure each one is functional so it will pass tests.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's cool. I mean, I think... there's definitely talk about an AI bubble, which we'll talk about once again about this. But I don't. Even if the bubble pops, which I'm sure it will. I mean, it's by definition a bubble has to pop because it's a bubble, and bubbles don't sustain. But I don't think we're going back to the days of just forgetting about just leaving all this behind and going back to the old days. There's a ton of utility in it, and I think we can even squeeze out many years of progress just from, if we stop today, if the models just stopped today, there'd be a ton of progress that we could still eke out in terms of workflows and so forth. I know I move faster, you move faster, everyone moves faster. That doesn't mean you move better sometimes, but it means that you have the capability of moving fast. But if you don't move, if you're not moving better, I think that's more of a reflection of your use or lack of proper use of AI and not really the tool itself.
Right. It's interesting, too, because one of the questions I've had, and one question I asked both Lena and Scott, was like, how do we teach the new generation to actually code? Because you and I grew up professionally coding, right? Did it as kids and then did it for years in engineering and such. And so when you use Claude Code, you're coming from that background, right? You know what code looks like, you know how to write code, you're just letting it assist you. Whereas if you're coming into this as Gen Z, then that may be your first experience with coding is with Claude Code. And so how do we teach that new generation to code? And Lena's response I thought was really cool. She's like, well, a lot of what you should do is just like learning English, for example. You need to read a lot of code. That's kind of the starting point is read a lot of code, see what good code looks like, and then, do some hands-on exercises without the tools to understand how things should work to supplement your learning, because otherwise you're just letting this tool do the work for you and you're not going to learn those really low-level skills.
I think she's absolutely right. And there's a lot of parallels. I mean, in math, for example, you need to learn, how to do addition and subtraction and all the basic operations by hand.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had a student that you just, gave him a calculator and says, go figure it out, he wouldn't know what to do. And I think this is very similar. How I've been thinking, it's something I've been thinking about too, because I've been thinking about, I get a lot of questions from schools and just people in terms of how do I learn? And I think the fundamentals are still going to matter. I mean, our book still has a very good ranking on Amazon for a reason. It's not because we're, dashing young bucks. It's because our book covers fundamentals that I think are useful to people. But the fundamentals, I think, are going to be more important than ever, precisely because you need to know them. So for code, for example, the way I've been thinking about this is, yes, learn the basics of coding. That doesn't go away, but also get good at debugging. I think that's going to be an underappreciated skill in testing and so forth, because that's more of what you're going to be doing with AI, but you do need to know what good code, performant code, correct systems look like. And systems thinking is the other one where I think that's going to be more and more taught. As I told people, I gave a talk last week at Small Data SF, and the notion really was like, how do you preserve what's human in this day and age?
Yep.
And I think the element of craftsmanship is actually going to be more important, where AI is certainly, it's an accelerant for sure. But at the end of the day, your ability to craft things, I think, is going to be more important than ever. Because otherwise, what are you? Just a glorified button pusher. If you're using Claude Code, you're like, enter, maybe 2 or 3, fix, enter. Right.
And
like,
if that's all you're doing,
the point of that?
Then why do we need you in the loop, right?
Because you can turn that off, by the way, and it can just go raw dog the code base and just build, whatever. So, yeah, but these are discussions we need to have, though, right? Because I think, like tomorrow I'm supposed to give a talk over at Northeastern University to their class, and a lot of students right now I think are very puzzled. Like, what do I do? Is everything that I just studied, is that a complete waste of time?
Right.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Probably not, but maybe it is. 5 years from now, I don't know. Like I told people, I don't think any of us can predict how good these models get 5 years from now. But at the end of the day, like, your ability to, have a craft, like, that's in your control.
So. Well, it's funny. A couple of years ago, we noticed this phenomenon of software engineers, data engineers going into woodworking because they wanted to get away from something so abstract and just get their hands. But
one of our old employees and friends did that. Yeah, I think he didn't look back on that.
Interesting. Okay, I need to chat with him at some point.
Yeah, he had a. I think it was a good decision. So.
Yeah, but the question is, I mean, usually that's not the most profitable pursuit. You do this because you love it. The question is, will there be room for more craftsmanship, even as there's more automation in the future? Will there be ways to make a living?
I mean, I saw like this on Instagram, just reel scrolling, and I saw this Gucci, chopper motorcycle, handmade, right? But I was like,
right.
Somebody spent a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
And, they could have just gotten a regular mass-produced chopper, but, I think it must have cost a lot.
Yeah. Especially maybe investment in
figures,
time.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I think people are always going to, but for software, right? And this is sort of what I was talking about earlier in the year with my talk, disposable vibes, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch of AI slopware.
Yeah.
Right. That was a notion that, yes, what is it? Back in the day before, crass commercialism and mass production, automobiles, for example, were handcrafted one by one. There were no specs really in terms of what a car would be. It was, Matt, you go build a car. It's like, cool. I will get out my hammer and, cut metal and make a car by hand, right? That was every car. And then, Henry Ford comes around,
Mass production.
production, right? Quality actually goes up, by the way. It doesn't go down, goes up. Like my old boss had he had like every car, but the Bentley was like one where he had several different Bentleys, and each Bentley is handcrafted, which is great, except when things happen, like some kid rear-ended him. And this kid didn't have insurance, by the way, when he hit him. So,
I mean, your boss had insurance, right?
Yeah, he's got insurance. He's also got like, more money
dollars or
than a lot. Yeah, it's like, but that bumper dent alone cost $30,000 back in the day to fix. They had to have somebody come in from Vegas and like fix it. Right. So that's hand craftsmanship. Like you couldn't just go to the shop and say, yeah, I need a new bumper for my Bentley. What do you have in stock? No, it doesn't
exactly.
exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, supposedly if you buy a Lamborghini and you want to replace like the brake discs, some guy has to like go pull the plans off the shelf and hand machine the brake disc and ship it back to you. And, that's why it costs $5,000 or something.
It's insane, right?
Yeah.
But to do that, I mean, it's an expensive hobby, but, but the whole point is, I don't think, but it's the parallels I'm still trying to figure out, because I think it's going to be one of the next books I work on. It's like, just what, like the idea of craftsmanship in an age when, knowledge work is mass produced now.
Yeah.
Like what is the point of it?
It's mass produced, but it's not consistent, right? So that's the contrast. Yep. Typical mass production car, like you said, everyone will be a little bit different, based on the options. But basically, the frame is going to be identical. The engine is going to be identical. The software, the chips are all identical. And now every time you run that process, the code you get will be a little bit different.
Oh, and personalized. Like, I don't know if you saw, like, Imagine with Claude, the, so a couple months ago, Anthropic released this ability to where, you prompt Claude and it actually creates the UI on the fly for you, right? And it customizes it. So I think you're absolutely right where you don't have the mass customization, but you have like a very detailed personalization actually to what you need. It's very stochastic, but it's also mass produced in the sense where it's
generated by machines. Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Quickly. Yep.
Right. Yep. But because that was the article I wrote last week in my newsletter where it's, called into question really like what is the nature of, software vendors going forward. I called it eroding the edges because the notion is like, if you look at most software that you purchase, do you use every single feature? Probably not.
Right. It's mass produced in the sense that that team, when they deliver a feature, they deliver it to everyone. So they may have 100,000 customers for a small B2B app, and everyone gets that same feature based on their service tier. Right. And now, as you said, software might be truly personalized, but we still have a lot of questions around that. Like, can we do that and be secure, for example?
Or the vendor may just gives you the scaffolding, like maybe the basics, and then it's like, maybe you get access to a data set, but then you can build whatever you want on top of it. Like that, I think is another option they didn't write about. That's very possible. But it calls into question, like if you're starting a software company today, like how would you even approach it? Right, SaaS, for example, you need to have your moat needs to be that much more differentiated than it used to be.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about like the first, solo unicorn using AI. But my question has always been, okay, if one person can do that, then how big is your moat? Like, can't someone else just undermine you, and then your company is going to go bankrupt, basically?
Well, I think your moat at that point is distribution, right? And it's the audience. That's the only thing that AI couldn't really replicate. Like you have a brand, I have a brand, and I think that gives you a leg to stand on if you're going to make software. Because you have the platform. If you don't have the platform, it's like you have to have something special, either a government contract or some sort of regulatory capture, or data or some. But the idea of a moat, I think, is increasingly becoming. It's just changing. It'll happen, but it's going to be harder.
Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, lots of questions. Always
lots of questions.
In this domain,
and then what we always talk about is bubble mania. I think it's been the constant theme with you and I for several years. Actually,
it's been the theme for everyone.
But it used to be modern data stack bubble, right?
Yeah, that's fair. And just the general asset bubble, right? Like clear back in 2019, there was a lot of discussion of like just all assets, stocks, real estate, gold, where the prices were high. And now they've gone even higher this many years later.
Stratospheric, yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny today. I actually just went and put a lot of stop orders on some individual stocks they have. So, because I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can take the money. If it keeps going up, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to be heartbroken.
So there's I saw this article about the Big Short guy, right? And he was trying to short Nvidia, and then he like mysteriously said he was shutting down his fund, but no one knows exactly what's going on because they're saying, well, maybe he's just trying to make it completely private so he doesn't have to disclose things, or maybe he's exiting the market because it got burned. I don't know.
It is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I did see that too because earlier this week it was like he's shorting Nvidia, and then also closing fund, and you're kind of like, WTF? All right, looks interesting. Have fun with that, Michael. But it's like what was this other book that I remember? Let me see if my keyboard needs to wake up here.
Okay. You have to ask, to what degree is NVIDIA a meme stock? Because Tesla arguably has become a meme stock, right? Like a very large fraction of all the shares are owned by retail investors who are super high on Elon Musk, basically.
Yeah. Okay. It was a book about John Paulson's trades in the Great Financial Crash. So he was similar to Mike Burry in the sense where he took the short position and made a ton of money. But since then, so I think that one trade made him like $20 billion or something. But then since then, Paulson has like underperformed from what I've understood. And so it was kind of a one hit wonder there. Yeah. So if that's same with Burry, who knows, right? They very well could be, but you never know until it's over.
Well, that's just it. You see, there's a huge survivorship bias problem in the sense that you see the short sellers who have made huge amounts of money, and you don't see the ones who went bankrupt on bad bets.
Do you realize how hard it is to short?
Oh yeah. I mean, Well, everyone knows about George Soros shorting the pound and becoming a billionaire, basically. But yeah, a bunch of other people, I'm sure, just went bankrupt and had to like go beg for food or something.
The odds are not on your side for shorting. It just is not. So, but yeah, it's. Yeah, there's a lot of stories, and you had the meme stock era back during kind of ZERP, COVID money going into meme stocks, and Tesla is that a meme stock? I think, I don't know. You tell me if you had to haggle with your CEO over whether or not he's going to get $1 billion or $1 trillion pay package or walk, right? To me, that indicates this isn't just somebody who is focused on the fundamentals of the business. It's this is by definition a meme because you can make memes out of it.
Yeah. Well, and especially when that same CEO bought Twitter to be his personal platform, basically, so he could promo Tesla and promo SpaceX and promo XAI and all this stuff, then you have to start asking hard questions.
For sure. Yeah. And it doesn't seem to matter if you're losing money on it. It's like, it's just... Yeah, it's crazy. I gotta say, I do own a Tesla. It is a fantastic vehicle. Right. I actually love it to death. But it doesn't escape me that Grok is in the car.
Right, and the concerning thing is that they have this great product, but they're investing a lot in really bad products, like the Cybertruck. Arguably, is a terrible product in a number of fronts.
Piece of shit.
And they're not investing enough in their cars that actually make them money, right? Like that's been the complaint, that the Model 3 is a great car, but it's actually kind of fallen, they haven't done enough to update it. They should be updating it into the next generation, and instead they're investing in everything else imaginable.
Humanoid robots, it's interesting. I mean, we do get cool updates for it, but the self-driving, but I don't really use the self-driving, so... because I think I mentioned on the other podcast, it was like I almost find it more difficult to use the self-driving than just to drive.
And as I said, I probably mentioned it before, even on this podcast, but there have been many deaths with self-driving, and in every case you see that the person who died says, oh yeah, it seems to have problems with X, Y, and Z. And it's like, why did you keep using it if you noticed that it would pull toward barriers and you'd have to correct it? Like, why did you keep using this product? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. But it's
so that's smart. I'm glad you're doing that. Don't use self-driving, stay alive.
Well, it's just like, legally you're responsible if you get into a wreck, and then it tells you like, well, you have to pay attention. And I'm like, that defeats the entire purpose of me using self-driving.
It's a contradiction.
So why would I use it?
Yeah.
For $100 a month, I'll just not use it. Yeah. But then, so you got that. So that's one bubble behavior for sure, is when you see $1 trillion pay packages. To me, that screams bubble behavior, because that's what you see.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have to go through all kinds of machinations to hit that pay package.
Yeah. Plus, we saw, I sent you this article from the Wall Street Journal. What's the title of it? But it's basically like, are we already bailing out OpenAI? Hold on, let me just find it real quick. Just a sec. But it's basically saying that OpenAI is now trying to get federal loan guarantees because they're having to borrow just astonishing amounts of money to try to keep the whole system going. They don't have that money. So if they have federal loan guarantees, then they can basically... Sorry, I have way too many windows open here. But they can basically like get the money by having federal loan guarantees. And that means that basically we the taxpayers are going to end up paying for this mess if that happens.
Yeah, it's a good article. Saw it in the WSJ too. Got the subscription.
Yep.
Yeah, it's. But then, of course, they walk it back and say, "Oh, we didn't mean that.
We didn't mean federal loan guarantees. Give me a break." Like,
yeah, even though it's like, oh, you
literally said loan guarantee. Like,
so I don't know.
It's a wild time, right? It's just completely insane. So I don't know. It's just very contradictory signals, I think, is what we're saying. I think, to be fair, that is fundamentally what is happening. You've got a lot of very exciting technological developments. And this, again, is kind of beating a dead horse, but it just seems so much like the late 90s. I think that's all we can really say about it, right?
Well, it's the only thing you really have it to compare it to in the modern era, too, is the late 90s. It's the late 90s mixed with the housing bubble, right? Because you're talking about too big to fail. So banks have been replaced by, there you go. Where are we at here with this article?
Sorry, wrong one.
Yeah, Riverside's sharing kind of
it's
blows
not great.
Once in a while.
Okay,
well, it has a lag, right? So I was doing that with Matt Turk a few weeks or last week with the podcast, and it was just kind of whatever.
So that's an interesting topic, right? Like, what did Matt Turk had to say about the number of data products? Because that was his thing, was always to keep track of the number of new data companies, which is what you guys talked about. Where are we at with that this
time? So the Mad Landscape, right, that Matt Turk has been publishing since, 2012. Yeah, this is the article here. You may already be bailing out the AI business.
Yeah.
And so, let's talk about this article a bit more.
Sure.
Yeah. Subsidies, great. All of us get to pay. And it's interesting too. I can't remember which bank it was, but they had something where it was like, if you were to take the what was it, 180? Let me pull up the article here because I thought it was pretty interesting. It's on Tom's Hardware, but it was
is this the one about not having enough power for data centers? Is this something else?
No, this is a different one.
All right.
Tom's Hardware's killing it with their reporting. No, this one is about... JP Morgan calls out AI spend. Basically, the $650 billion in annual... You need $650 billion in annual revenue required to deliver a mere 10% return on the AI build-out. So this would either be a $35 payment for every iPhone user or $180 for every Netflix subscriber in perpetuity. So... I'm guessing it's annual, but that kind of shows you like how far off the spending is from the reality of the revenue, not even the profit, but the revenue. Right. So super awesome. Can you stop sharing or is it like, okay.
I believe so. Sorry.
There we go.
All right.
But anyway, so this is JP Morgan, and then so it's interesting, like, and this is something I wrote about on LinkedIn and other, in other articles as well, that, I mean, almost, I wouldn't say almost certainly, like, we're in a bubble. People who say you're not in a bubble, my criteria is if you have to wonder if you're in a bubble,
then you're probably in a bubble. Yeah.
It's sort of like, in activities like climbing or whatever, like if you think you're in danger, you're probably in danger. You should go with your gut on this one.
So, lower at that point.
Right. Yeah, make sure your knot's tied. But there's the hubris too, where obviously people with a vested interest in this will say, well, we're not in a bubble, or like, Alex Karp from Palantir will say, well, we're not in a bubble, but others are. Right,
Yeah,
not us, not
The
us.
Economist
at all, but the other
magazine has
guys.
profiled the company as the most overvalued on the market, even compared to Nvidia and many other players in the space. Right?
Sure. Yeah, but he got the government contracts right now to
Yeah.
do creepy shit to all the American public. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's great. And that's just kind of what it is, And then, but this is the only story, which makes sense if you're an investor, if you're the government that wants to have a decent looking stock market. This is the only story going on right now. Show me another one.
Right.
What's the other one?
And it's
Humanoid
FOMO,
robots.
right?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone wants to ride this wave too, right? It's like no one wants to miss out on all this money. And I think a lot of investors, some investors think that it's going to be so big that they can make money even off the bubble. That, in 10 years, things might go down a bit, but they're still going to go up. I think a lot of investors are just trying to ride it short term and thinking that they'll know when to exit, but no one ever knows when to exit. Right?
No, you don't know when to exit. That's, I mean, even me, I'm just kind of lazy. I mean, I'm mostly an index investor. I do, put money in individual stocks, but like I said, I put stop orders on today. I'm like, that's just, I got my money. Yeah, I get in pretty early on a lot of things, but also it's like, I'm not dumb enough to write it to the bottom.
No.
So, but it's interesting. Like, Bloomberg had an article yesterday about how Mira Murati's thinking machine is looking to raise at a $50 billion valuation now.
Yeah.
And so, research labs like hers and Ilya Sutskever's, super or safe superintelligence. I mean, that's, the big bet on that is, the only mission of that SSI is to create artificial superintelligence. That's it. So if the bet works, then, it happens. If not, you just lost all your money. That's it.
What do you think even about the notion of artificial superintelligence? I personally think it's kind of silly. I think that we're going to see a lot of types of intelligence emerge. I think one, sort of one ring to rule them all just doesn't make sense in this space.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen enough things where I think it might actually happen, but I don't know quite what it is. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But the sense where you're going to have AI that does come up with novel solutions to big problems. I think to me that would indicate that you've reached something like an ASI where you have a global problem like climate change. Mm-hmm. It can figure out how to do it and execute in ways that humans haven't been able to do. That might also mean like humans aren't in the picture because we're kind of the problem in that. But
like
give it a goal and give it the goal and we'll figure out the solution. Paper clips. But I think that to me that's what superintelligence would be, where it is capable of solving problems that heretofore have stumped humans.
Yeah.
And groups of the smartest humans and all of our supercomputers. If you can hit that level, I think that's as good of any. But the goalpost keeps changing, right? I mean, if you looked at what Microsoft and OpenAI had defined as AGI, artificial general intelligence, a couple of years ago, it was like it is able to produce $100 billion in annual profits.
Right. And this became a big bone of contention as well, right? Because I think there was something written into their collaboration contract about AGI, and so they were fighting over what it meant, basically.
Right. And they're still doing it this year, so So it's like, but both parties are starting to distance themselves from each other. Microsoft has signed a big deal with Anthropic, and I think so. Everyone's kind of hedging the partnerships they thought were gonna, it's like the Vegas wedding. Or you go to Vegas and get married for a weekend, and then you're like,
okay, hedging your bets, just like kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you're probably really drunk when you did it. It's fine. But I've actually attended a couple of those weddings before. I had friends that went and got married in Vegas, and I'm like,
did it last? Like, did they?
Of course not. No, I was like, it's good to meet your future ex-wife. That's cool.
How long did it last? That's more the relevant question.
Not that long. not that long. I think it's. But that's what a lot of these arrangements feels like right now. But it's clear too that at least for now the foundation model providers are established. Like for anyone to try and get a lead on it, it's going to be pretty hard. Of course, then they have China, and they're doing some cool stuff. But it's like a tale of two worlds because due to export controls, like our models aren't going to be used, there and vice versa for security reasons and national reasons. But it's it's an interesting market. Like it's funny too when you go to San Francisco, which I did last week because I was there. It feels like it's a city that's about 5 years in the future with AI for better or for worse.
It's the usual San Francisco contradiction, though, right? Like rampant poverty and homelessness and shuttered businesses, and yet so much money floating around at the same time.
It's a lot of money there.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I mean, I have friends who, you know, I mean, if things work out, they're gonna be very, very wealthy,
Right.
unbelievably rich, right? And you know, so it's a question of you know, what happens after this whole thing corrects. You know, I'm still bullish on AI for sure. Like
Right.
I think that this is what I've been telling people is like, just because you have a bubble doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Like bubbles is where you see the most innovation typically. You don't see bubbles in periods of stagnation. It just doesn't happen. Show me when it happens.
Right. I mean, you can think of this as an R&D phase, right? It's almost like, it is kind of like the Manhattan Project in the sense that the government threw all this money at something without necessarily a clear outcome. It was not at all clear that they'd actually be able to do what they were trying to do, but they spent the money, and we're kind of doing the same thing, right? We're throwing all this money at it without really worrying about future returns, and a lot of stuff will come out of it.
But this wasn't supposed to happen, by the way, right? So, you know, what's interesting is I was climbing with my friend Luke last week, and he was on the team that launched ChatGPT. And you know, on our way to the climbing gym, because we're tech bros, we got to go to the climbing gym. He, you know, he was telling me like it was interesting because when they launched it, they didn't think anyone was going to use it. It was like 10,000 people were there thinking we're probably going to use it, and then they're like, oh shit, like you know, and that the rest was history.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and there are again parallels with the Manhattan Project because they had just discovered fission like right before that, and then they ramped up the project within a couple of years, and no one was expecting. You know, scientific discoveries are very nonlinear and very hard to plan. And so are a lot of social movements. And I would argue that this, in many respects, is kind of a social movement. It's like GPT had existed for a while and it was already doing impressive stuff, but it was just this particular way of presenting it that really captured the imagination of the public and investors.
I forgot about GPT-3 when after it was like, oh, that thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember during COVID, all of us nerds were hanging out trying to, you know, play that on GPT playgrounds. And then I was like, whatever, let's go talk about crypto.
And the memory was very limited.
Manhattan Project is interesting because I think it was like $200 or $300 billion in today's money was thrown into the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
And the way the project was built was interesting in that you had a bunch of parallel things happening all at once, which if you were trying to do a normal project like that, you would never have done it that way. But because of the existential nature of what you were trying to do, because the enemy was probably doing the same thing, you had to take a lot of bets. Like there was no guarantee that you were able to build anything like the bomb at all.
Yeah.
Like in fact, you know, I think there was a lot of speculation like none of this shit would work at all.
Yeah.
So, you know, enrichment or whatever. Yeah. What's that?
Enrichment was one of the big examples. So they had to enrich uranium to a much higher concentration of, what was it, 230? It's been a while, 235 or 239 or something. And they had two completely different approaches, and both of them cost a ton of money. And one of them worked, basically.
Right. Right, and you're dealing that under the game theory that you know the Nazis are building the same thing. So if you don't do it, like you're doomed.
Right. And it turned out that they were really bad at this. Like they did not make much progress because, frankly, they kind of gutted their scientific establishment.
Right.
And,
well, you know, the same thing's happening with the U.S. and China right now. There's an AI race happening. I think for national security reasons, like this is the race that is going to define at least the early part of this century is who wins the AI race. Because whoever wins the AI race, whatever the hell that means, that dictates like who controls a lot of things going forward. So, you know, and it's in a period as well where, you know, we're in a hybrid war right now, you know, with Russia, Iran, China. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's not a cold war. Like it is bordering on becoming a hot one sometime soon. So
there's a lot of concerning stuff in the geopolitical realm right now. Let's say that. So.
For sure. Right. But it also means like, you know, it is interesting because you're dealing with a situation in the U.S. where you have what $38 trillion in debt. At the same time, you're funding you're asking the government to backstop any bad loans that happen with AI. At the same time, you're also trying to pay for defense, or I guess war now, because we got rid of the word defense because that's not manly enough. So, you know, so you're having all these simultaneous factors happening. You know, while you're dealing with a ballooning deficit. And so I think the only way you get out of it is actually you have to like erase it somehow.
Well, again, The Economist had an article about, I'm always citing them, but they recently had an article about that we're probably heading into a longer era of higher inflation, right? I mean, we still have reasonably high inflation by standards of the last 20 years. And they were arguing that governments were going to do this because their debt was too high. And so how do you get rid of debt? Inflation will effectively wipe out the value of that debt, even if the number remains more or less the same.
Yeah. Or a war.
Or a war. Yeah.
Classically, that's how you do it. You either default, or you go to war, and then whoever loses gets to deal with that. So, but sadly, it's I think where it's all going. So, we're a very optimistic podcast here. But I mean, all these things are related, though. You can't talk about these things without understanding sort of the bigger picture in which they fit. And right now, it's like, again, AI is the only story in the world. Like, no matter where you go, it's like the only thing propping up what would otherwise be, I said yesterday, you would be in a recession right now. I don't even think there's a question. If you just walk around and look anecdotally, even not even at the numbers, because you don't even publish those anymore. But, I mean, look at how many people that are, they're not doing great.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's the classic mixed signals economy, right? And we saw this in the previous administration where by many metrics, the economy was booming, right? Like employment was very high, wages were going up, but we also had high inflation, high interest rates. And so people day to day were going through a lot of pain, even though we had a lot of great numbers. And we have different types of problems right now, but it's the same basic thing, right? Like the stock market is going crazy, but now unemployment is skyrocketing. And so again, a lot of ordinary people, boots on the ground, are just suffering with losing their jobs.
I know a lot of people like
job. Yep.
I'm seeing on LinkedIn, people that I worked with, 10 plus years ago, they're saying they're homeless now. They can't find jobs.
Yeah.
That sucks, right?
Really, really rough. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the employment numbers are based on, labor force participation, which labor force participation rate, that rate's low, historically low. And so it is an interesting time. I mean, and the questions, is how does AI impact this? I do laugh when I see a lot of the CEOs saying, well, we replaced our, AI as a driving force. I'm like, no, I think there's a lot more at play. Like the economy sucks and you're probably trying to scale back, but you're using AI as an excuse because you don't want to admit you made some overhiring decisions.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of it is that if you're, say, Meta and you're borrowing a ton of money to invest in AI data centers, how do you make the bottom line look better? You just cut anyone that you can, right? Anyone that you don't consider absolutely efficient.
Well, you do those loans like off the books on
right. That's a whole other thing. yeah, that too. But like investors know what's going on. They know that money is being borrowed behind the scenes, and so they're trying to cut cash flow, basically cut spending where they can, so it doesn't look so catastrophic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think it's going to get better in 2026?
I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. I think I've predicted 10 of the last 0 AI collapses. So, maybe you have too.
I mean, it's always like, well, someday it'll happen. Right. But then it reminds me of like, gold bugs I know who are like, well, the economy is going to collapse at some point. Right. Gold bugs, the preppers and so forth, of which I would probably say I'm somewhat a part of. But no, I do distance myself from them, but I did grow up in a household that's kind of like that. And they're not wrong necessarily either. If you look at the price of gold, what was it, $4,200 yesterday? 43, I think.
Right.
I mean, if you got gold, you're pretty stoked. But what are you going to do? Sell it? No, you're going to hang on to it because that's your apocalypse insurance. So
right.
And then the funny thing is, if you have gold coins, like ounces of gold, or in this case like a silver coin here, which is a 1869 thing. So like that's worth like $40-$50 now, right? Like, what are you going to do with this?
Well, that's just it. Like, if we really have economic problemes, what are you going to go to the corner shop and sell it, or like how exactly is this going to help you?
I don't know.
Super clear to me. So.
One of my relatives is a gold dealer, right? And so I can be public about this because he sells it, and he has a website and stuff. But it's like, I remember going to, gold coin shows with him, and going there, and on the way back, you have to watch yourself. You have to watch like what cars are behind you, what cars are in front of you. You have to pay attention. You need to be armed because if something happens, you're a target. So it's one of those businesses. I'm like, I want nothing to do with this at all.
No. It's like, yeah, it's like a lot of other unsavory businesses. I'll leave it at that. In other words, you're in a very high risk profession with a lot of people.
You're a very high risk profession
after you.
Yeah, you always. I remember I was just like, I don't want to be here right now. This sucks. But that's I guess that is the story though. Gold's. I mean, what was it last year? It was nowhere near the price it is now. So it tells you a lot where the fear index is, though, right? If because gold is one of those indicators where I always pay attention to markets. Like, where's the market putting its money? Oh gosh, gold's that expensive. Okay, interesting.
Is Bitcoin one of those indicators? I mean, it's come down recently, but it's gone way up in the last year.
Let's see what it is now, because I know Bitcoin. What is it today? It is at 96,000, so it's down a bit. I think over the last month, it's dropped from a high of almost 115,000 down to 96 right now. So, yeah, time to buy, Matt. Buy the dip.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's interesting.
Anyway,
so what else you have going on? Anything you want to talk about?
Let's see. I've got a conference coming up called Data Tune, which is in March. I'll be doing some workshops
where's that
and
at?
such there. That's in Nashville. So if you want to come to Nashville, you could look into that one. I think they're still expecting
bars.
Yeah, actually, you referred me to that one. That's right. Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah. You forwarded. I think you talked to one of the organizers, and they reached out to me. So at some point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't remember. But I hope you have fun.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that one. Yeah. Seems like a good one there. That'll be kind of fun. So yeah, that sounds good. Like a local conference and stuff. So that'll be dope.
Yeah, I think they're trying to turn it into a national conference.
That's cool.
Conferences are interesting because I think people trying to reskill are very interested in traveling to conferences. Conference budgets for companies are very tight right now because of the overall just economic situation, plus frankly investing in AI. It's just very hard to know what skills to invest in, but I think we're seeing some kind of durable skills emerge in various areas, just like we did in sort of a big shift to data engineering. A lot of kind of hybrid skills where data processing plus, using vector databases and this kind of thing. So what's your take on that? What's the number one skill you would also want to develop if they wanted to work in data engineering now that maybe wasn't even on the radar in 2021?
That's a very good question. Yeah. One skill?
Just pick one. Obviously there are probably 10, but that you would recommend, but pick one.
I mean, the number one new skill I would say is get really good with the AI tools. Mm-hmm. That's where I'd put my attention, assuming everything else is equal. You've read our marvelous book, you know the fundamentals, you know the basics of the various cloud tools or data platform tools out there. I'd say if you have that foundational basis, I'd be going all in on the AI tools, whatever that is for your company. But I would say that's the new skill I would be going all in on.
Interesting.
Because like I said, everything else being equal though, not, it's hard to say because
it's hard to say. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because the ecosystem is so fragmented too. You got the Crips and the Bloods, right? You got Databricks and Snowflake, right? So what gang do you want to join? What bandana do you want to put on? How are you going to get initiated? So that's kind of it. But the new Glock, so to speak, to use the analogy, it's your AI tools. That's your new.
So Lakshmanan said tool calling was his thing. He's like, MCP and tool calling. That's what I would really focus on right now. So very similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. All the stuff, right? Then, then there's questions about, is MCP going to even be a thing right now, right? I mean, I was talking to Nick Schrock, and he's kind of like, I don't like MCP. I think it's dumb. So
interesting. What's his take?
I'll need to go back and look at the podcast. I'm going to release it next week. But he had some criticism of it. I think dumb is not the right word, but it's it definitely wasn't. It's a point in time, I think is what he's trying to say, right? And so now I completely misquoted Nick, but MCP is definitely a big thing. I mean, I use it all the time. I think it's dope. But I think just understanding like the nuances of the models, like when I used MCP for a while with Claude, like it works until it doesn't, right? It works until it runs out of tokens. And the thing is with MCP is depending on what you're trying to call and what you're trying to do, it blows through tokens very, very fast. And I think that's, but if you're not in it all day using these tools, how are you going to know? Right. So that's just it. So I would say, you got to be in this stuff every single day using it. That's the thing I on LinkedIn, I had a post the other day about this where, if I see people in the data management and the knowledge space saying, oh, well, if you maybe, because these people, data modeling is a weird sport, especially where I call it a sport intentionally, but, it's a weird one where you have a lot of people who have like their method, their framework they came up with back in the day, of course, right? And it never got popular. But now they're bringing it back saying, well, but if you use this, AI is going to work. And then you ask them, okay, so show me how it works. It's like, well, I don't use AI because it's stupid.
Okay, well, that's not. Yeah.
So you have basically a flat earther who's coming around and saying, my brand of religion is great. That so it's just interesting. Like what AI is doing is it's bringing a lot of people out of the woodwork, and I think there's some valid things as well, like what's happening with knowledge. Friends like Juan Cicada who will tell you himself that he felt like he was like wandering the wilderness for years alone,
and then all of a sudden, Yep.
knowledge graphs and semantic web are popular, right? And that semantic web paper talked about agents, and so there's some validity to it. But I also think like you have to be in these tools every day. You can't just say, well, data glossaries are great, or business glossaries, use those. I'm like, nobody fucking uses them. They never used them in the first place. Why do you think they're going to do them now?
Right. It's kind of like the old way of doing computer science research, where Xerox PARC, they had their own like little facility and they developed the GUI, which was really cool, right? Xerox Alto and all that stuff. But now like research and staying on the cutting edge, you have to constantly be interacting with everyone and using all the stuff that's out there. That's how R&D works these days in Silicon Valley, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's how you should be doing R&D with AI in the real world. I mean, that's why I'm doing this hackathon. It's more to just like have fun, explore the edges of this stuff, come up with, unhinged, but I think unhinged ideas, but also using it as a learning exercise for people, right? So I think, to me, that's a net win for the community and stuff. But yeah, if you're not in this stuff every day, like, but you're going to say AI sucks, I would say, please at least try and have an informed opinion.
Right. If you want to bring back your old thing, then you need to be using it in the context of the new tools and showing us why it's better than other things that are out there.
Yeah, or why it makes it better, right? Like, I'm all about like making AI better, because like the current form of AI is great, but it also kind of sucks, right? Like there's a lot of shortcomings.
Agree.
But just please, just use it. We're doing shit, whatever.
That's fair.
Just stop spouting nonsense, though. Let me see. Anything else?
I think that's it for now. What if this has been a 50-minute podcast, which is pretty awesome.
That's about what we used to do for Monday Morning Data.
Yeah, that's about right.
So,
that's about right.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I wonder if we bring that show back at some point.
Yeah, if you want to, we could do something like that. That would be cool. We'll have to.
In the audience there, if you happen to have made it this far into our monologue or our dialogue, feel free to leave a comment if you want the Monday Morning Data chat back. That might be an interesting one. Been about over a year now. So there's still a lot of people to talk to, and I feel like, just kind of like you're saying, right, the AI revolution surfaces a lot of people that maybe you didn't pay attention to before, who are now doing interesting things with knowledge they got in the past, but they're finding new ways to apply it, just like we're saying. Yeah, exactly. So cool. Well, if you happen to be on my end, if you happen to be in Paris for Forward Data Conf,
nice.
Come say bonjour. It'd be cool to see you. And I guess it might be AWS reInvent. I'm not sure yet.
That's always a tricky one because it's a big dog and pony show. Lots of interesting people there. I don't feel like you really generally go for the events. It's
I don't get a ticket. I just hang
certainly
out
not for the food.
No. Although, my favorite place to go in Vegas, and I always like to take my friends there, is Siegel's Bagel Mania, off the right across from it's kind of by the Wynn and Fontainebleau.
Okay.
But like that is it's inexpensive, the food's awesome, great service, really good to check out. So if you want to go grab a high carb bagel there with me, or an omelet, it's good to go. But yeah, Vegas food's good. It's freaking expensive though. Like I was watching Dave Portnoy's. He always has this one bite pizza show, which for some reason I find very fascinating. So he came to Salt Lake actually and did it here. And the best one is well, you can look it up online, but there's a couple over on State Street that are really good.
Nice.
Want to get a slice sometime? Let me know. But yeah, the Vegas. But he had a Vegas slice. It was like $13.50 for a slice. I'm like,
whoa! Even by New York or San Francisco standards, that's completely insane.
It's fucking nuts, right? And it's in the New York hotel and casino.
But like in New York, slices cost like $3. I mean, the $3 slices are not necessarily the best, but like 15, $13, $14 for a slice. That's complete insanity.
It's Vegas is basically highway robbery at this point. There's a reason the tourism was down because people can't afford to go there.
Yeah, why is it so expensive? That's crazy.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's because they realize there's no. What are you going to do? There's if everyone's expensive, then you're going to have to pick between the cheapest expensive option. So and I think it's also like you have social media sort of ushered in this age of everyone wants to have the experience,
right? And they'll pay for it to be able to Instagram it once, basically. Yeah.
It's insane, but go to downtown or Henderson. Both are a lot cheaper and cooler. So anyway, Vegas, and then we have Day-to-Day Texas. That's coming up.
Excited for that. Go buy a ticket.
Yep. Get a ticket.
Do you have I think our promo code is It's About Data, just all one word, lowercase.
Oh, it is?
With a pound. Do you have one as well?
I think
you're a sponsor.
Joe 35 or something.
Well, we'll put them in the show notes. So go buy a ticket. Yeah. We'd love to see you there. Just an amazing list of speakers. Go check out daydaytexas.com or something.
Yeah, exactly.
To see who's speaking. But we'll be doing the Intoxicated Town Hall basically.
Yeah, we're not actually giving a talk.
Yeah.
I just let other people talk. Yeah, so it should be dope. Anyway, cool. We're about an hour on this damn thing. Congratulations. Cool, Matt. Well, maybe I'll see you at the happy hour
tonight. Hopefully tonight. Yeah.
Dope. So,
okay. All right.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Have a good one.
Take care.